The sound of temple bells echoed through the Himalayan mist, but inside the stone monastery, a young monk slept. Not peacefully, not in meditation, just slept. His name was Arav, and while his brothers prayed at dawn, he dreamed of easier lives. They say destiny waits for no one, but what if destiny was trying to wake you, and you kept hitting snooze? If you've ever felt stuck between who you are and who you're meant to be, stay with me. Because this story will show you what happens when life stops whispering and starts screaming. Hit subscribe, because stories like this don't just entertain, they transform. And if this one moves you, the algorithm needs to know so it can reach someone else fighting the same battle. It started on a night like any other. Arav pulled his worn blanket over his head as the 4 a.m. bells rang. His teacher, Monk Tenzin, stood at his door again, shaking his head. He who sleeps through his purpose, Tenzin whispered, wakes to regret. Arav heard it. He always did, but comfort was louder than conscience. That night, the dream came. He saw himself, old, bent, dressed in rags. His face was hollow. His eyes were empty. And he was walking these same monastery paths, but the temple was abandoned, crumbling, silent, except for one sound, bells ringing endlessly. Arav tried to run toward them, but his legs wouldn't move. He screamed, but no sound came. And then he heard a voice, his own, from somewhere deep inside the dream. You ignored the call. Now the call ignores you. He woke up gasping. His heart pounded. His room was dark. But outside, the bells were ringing. Not the morning bells, not the prayer bells. These were different, slow, mournful, like a funeral. Arav stumbled outside. The courtyard was empty. The other monks were asleep, but the sound was real. It was coming from the hills beyond the monastery, a place no one went, a place they were told never to go. And in that moment, something inside him cracked. Not broke, cracked, like the first line in ice before it shatters. He realized he'd been hearing those bells his whole life. In his sleep, in his excuses, in every moment he chose comfort over courage. So he did what fear told him not to. He followed the sound. The path was steep, the air was cold, his legs burned. But Arav didn't stop. The bells grew louder. And then he saw it. A small stone shrine, buried in moss and shadow. Inside, a single rusted bell hung from a chain. Beneath it, carved into the stone, were words in ancient script. Monk Tenzin appeared behind him. I knew you would come, he said quietly, eventually. What is this place? Arav asked, his voice shaking. Tenzin knelt beside the shrine. 70 years ago, a monk lived here. His name was Kiran. He was brilliant, gifted, destined for greatness. But he was lazy. He wasted every sunrise. And one day, he made a vow. If he ever woke to his purpose, he would ring this bell to free himself. But he never did, and so the bell rang on its own. Every night, calling him, haunting him. Arav's blood went cold. What happened to him? Tenzin looked him in the eyes. He became a beggar, wandering these hills, listening to the bell he could never silence. Because the curse wasn't the bell, Arav, it was him, his own regret, ringing forever. Arav stepped back. And the dream I had was not a dream, Tenzin said. It was a warning, the same warning Kiran ignored. You are walking his path, and if you do not choose differently, you will live his fate. Would you wake up if your future self was begging you to? Type I choose to rise if you've ever felt this kind of wake-up call. Arav stood there, staring at the bell. His hands trembled. He could walk away, pretend this never happened. Go back to his court, his comfort, his sleep. Or he could ring the bell, not to end a curse, but to begin a promise. He reached out. His fingers wrapped around the cold metal, and he pulled. The sound that filled the valley wasn't mournful anymore. It was clear, bright, alive, and as it echoed through the hills, Arav felt something break inside him, not his spirit, but his excuses, his fear, his laziness. He looked at Tenzin, tears streaming down his face. "I don't want to sleep through my life anymore." Tenzin smiled. "Then you won't, because you finally woke up." From that day forward, Arav was the first to rise, the first to pray, the first to serve. Not because he was perfect, but because he remembered the bell. He remembered the beggar he almost became, and every time laziness whispered, he heard a louder sound, the ring of his own choice. The monastery still stands, the bell still hangs, and travelers say that on quiet mornings, if you listen closely, you can hear it ring, not as a warning, but as a reminder. Your purpose is calling. Will you answer? If this story shook something awake in you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who's been hitting snooze on their dreams. Subscribe if you believe it's never too late to wake up. Because real transformation doesn't start with motivation. It starts with one honest decision. And maybe, just maybe, this was yours.